Aliens thought they had reinforcements coming. They never expected a single human dreadnought to appear out of nowhere, its weapons blazing, tearing through their defenses with deadly precision. Soldiers ran in panic as humanity showed the galaxy they were not weak. Every move was calculated, every strike unstoppable. Watch how humans turned fear into total domination. Witness the power, the strategy, and the intelligence that no enemy could survive. Don't miss a single moment of this epic battle, and subscribe now for more amazing HFY adventures. The alien outpost had been silent for hours, and every soldier inside felt the same fear growing heavier with each passing minute. The smoke of the earlier battle still hung in the air, making the metal corridors smell like burnt wires and dust. The outpost had already lost half its defenses, and most of its heavy cannons no longer worked. They were waiting for the reinforcements their commanders had promised, believing that any moment now friendly ships would appear in the sky and save them from total destruction. But deep inside, many of them were already losing hope. The ground trembled from distant explosions left behind by the human fleet that had attacked earlier. And no one wanted to admit out loud that they might not survive the next wave. The alien commander stood near the broken main screen, staring at the static-filled display with tired eyes. He kept whispering to himself that help was coming, that their fleet would not abandon them. But his voice shook slightly every time he said it. He remembered how confident they had been when they first joined the invasion of Earth months earlier. They were told humans were weak, emotional, unorganized creatures who would fall easily. But everything since then had proved those reports wrong. Humans fought with a fire the galaxy had not expected, and the outpost had learned that lesson painfully. Outside the walls, the wind carried the sound of metal scraping and crackling fires. The power network had been damaged so badly that lights flickered constantly. Every few seconds, the entire outpost was plunged into darkness before dim lights returned again. Soldiers whispered in small groups, clutching their weapons, wondering if they would live long enough to see their families again. Every noise made them jump. Every vibration made them fear that humans had returned to finish the job. The communication team kept trying to send distress signals, but their equipment sparked and heated up each time. The attack earlier had fried half their systems. Still they tried, hitting the same controls again and again, hoping something would go through to their fleet. They spoke quickly, their voices rising with panic at the idea that maybe their messages were not being received at all. Maybe no one even knew they needed help. The fear of being forgotten started to spread through the entire outpost. Then suddenly, a sharp alarm rang through the building, a sound that meant only one thing. Something was approaching from space. The soldiers froze, some hopeful, some terrified. The commander rushed to the control deck as screens lit up with movement. Static blurred the image, but a large shape was definitely coming toward the planet. The outpost crew felt a wave of relief wash over them. They believed this was finally the help they had begged for, their own fleet, arriving at last to rescue them from doom. Some soldiers even cheered, hitting their fists against their chests in celebration. But then the sensor specialist frowned, staring closer at the readings. Something felt wrong. The signal signature was unfamiliar. The size was wrong. The speed was impossible for any ship they owned. The frequency of the engine pulses made her blood run cold. She zoomed the scan again and again, hoping she was mistaken. But every time the same truth stared back at her, she slowly turned toward the commander, her voice trembling as she whispered that this was no friendly ship. The commander's relief turned to shock. His eyes widened as he read the identification codes. The ship approaching was not theirs. It was something else, something far more dangerous. A silence filled the entire room, the kind of silence that feels like a heavy stone pressing down on everyone. All the joy that had filled the soldiers only moments earlier disappeared instantly. Several soldiers looked at each other with wide eyes, asking silently if this could really be happening. The commander stepped closer to the screen as the image finally cleared just enough to reveal the outline of a massive warship, its dark metal armor shining like a predator's teeth, its engines burning with a deep blue glow. It moved with confidence, power, and deadly purpose. No one had to say its name. Everyone recognized the shape from the reports that had been circulating across the front lines. The humans had a new dreadnought class, a ship built to crush anything that stood in its path. And now one of them was heading straight toward the outpost. The soldiers felt their hearts sink. The commander felt his throat tighten. They had not been rescued. They had been found, and the terrible truth hit them all at once. The reinforcements they had expected were never coming. Instead, humanity had arrived, and humanity did not come to talk. They came to end the battle in their own brutal way. The outpost realized in that moment that their fate was already sealed, and all they could do was wait for the nightmare to begin. The alien outpost fell completely silent as the enormous human warship dropped out of FTL, appearing in the sky like a dark mountain floating in space. Every alien inside froze where they stood, staring at the screens with wide, terrified eyes. They had heard rumors about Terran dreadnoughts, but none of them had ever seen one in real life. Now the ship hovered above their planet, larger and more powerful than anything they had faced before. Its metal surface looked smooth and cold, as if it had been shaped by something more advanced than any technology the aliens possessed. The engines glowed like blue suns, sending ripples of energy across the atmosphere, and the entire outpost felt the vibration down to its foundations. The alien commander stood at the front of the control room, gripping the edge of the console so tightly that his claws dug into the metal. He felt a heavy pressure in his chest, the kind that made it hard to breathe. He had always believed the stories that humans were weak. But after the last few months of war, he had seen enough to know those stories were lies. Humans fought like a species that had survived countless hardships. They pushed through fear, pain, and loss with a kind of determination that scared even experienced commanders like him. Now staring at the dreadnought, he realized the humans had brought their strongest weapon. Not for defense, but for destruction. Around the control room, soldiers began whispering nervously, some asking if the humans would try to communicate first, others wondering if they should attempt to flee. But fleeing was impossible now. The dreadnought had already locked onto their position. And even if they tried to escape, the humans could destroy them before they even left the ground. A low humming sound filled the air, a sign that the dreadnought was powering up its systems. One of the technicians shouted that the human ship had activated its targeting arrays. The commander's blood turned cold. This meant the humans were preparing their weapons, not waiting, not negotiating, just acting with absolute precision. The dreadnought's lights shifted from blue to a dim red glow, signaling combat mode. The alien soldiers felt their scales rise as fear crawled up their spines. The humans weren't wasting a second. They moved like a species that had perfected the art of war. The commander ordered the outpost to raise shields, but only a small portion of their defensive grid responded. The earlier battle had damaged too many systems. Sparks burst from panels, and screens flickered. The technicians shouted that their shield strength was barely 20%, useless against a ship of this size. The dreadnought slowly rotated, positioning itself directly above the outpost, as if staring down at them like a giant predator preparing to strike. Through the cracked main window of the control deck, the aliens could see the massive silhouette of the human vessel, blocking out the stars. The ship wasn't elegant or decorated. It had a brutal design made purely for war, sharp edges, heavy armor, and rows of weapon ports that were already opening. The aliens felt a wave of helplessness wash over them. They wanted to run, but there was nowhere to run. They wanted to hide, but there was nowhere to hide. The dreadnought wasn't just a ship. It was a message, a statement that humans were done being attacked, done being underestimated. Now they were showing the galaxy what happens when someone hurts their home. Suddenly, a loud beep echoed through the control room. The sensors detected a massive energy spike coming from the dreadnought. The commander shouted for everyone to brace themselves. But before he even finished speaking, the first human weapon fired. A bright beam of light cut through the sky like a burning line, striking one of the mountain ridges near the outpost. The explosion was so powerful it shook the entire planet. The aliens stumbled, grabbing onto anything they could to keep from falling. Dust and debris rained from the ceiling. One soldier whispered that if the humans had aimed a little lower, the outpost would already be gone. But the humans weren't just firing randomly. Every shot was calculated, controlled, and delivered with chilling accuracy. The dreadnought fired again, this time destroying the outer defense cannons the aliens had been relying on. One by one, the alien systems were wiped out before they could even be activated. The commander stared helplessly at the screens. Watching the humans dismantle everything they had built, the dreadnought wasn't in a rush. It moved slowly, confidently, like it knew nothing on the planet could challenge it. Every weapon that opened fire on the aliens carried the same message, a message louder than any words. Humanity had come here to end this war, and they would not stop until the outpost was completely neutralized. The aliens realized in that moment that they were not facing just another enemy fleet. They were facing a species that had been pushed too far, a species that fought with emotion, intelligence, and relentless focus. The dreadnought hovered above them like a floating judgment, reminding them of the mistake they had made when they decided to attack Earth. And as the next wave of human fire lit up the sky, the aliens understood that this was only the beginning of the devastation. The humans had arrived, and they had come with the full intention to open fire, until nothing remained of the enemy who had threatened their world. The moment the human dreadnought positioned itself directly above the alien outpost, the air seemed to freeze. The aliens had expected at least a short pause, maybe a warning, maybe a demand for surrender, because that was how most species fought. They talked first, threatened second, and fired last. But the humans were different. They had lost too much in the war already, and they had no interest in giving their enemies a chance to escape or regroup. Without a single attempt at communication, the dreadnought opened fire, sending a blinding beam of pure energy straight toward the outpost's defensive walls. The ground shook violently as the blast tore through metal and stone like it was paper. Inside the control room, alarms screamed from every corner. Red lights flashed wildly, and aliens stumbled as the shockwave knocked equipment over. Smoke filled the air, thick and burning, making it hard to breathe. The commander shouted orders, but his voice was drowned out by the sound of another explosion, this time even closer. Parts of the ceiling cracked, sending small pieces of debris raining down on the soldiers. One technician yelled that their defense grid had collapsed completely. Another reported that their long-range sensors were gone. Humanity had taken out two of their strongest systems with only 2 shots. The speed and accuracy of the human attacks terrified everyone in the room. The aliens had always believed humans were emotional creatures who relied on instinct more than strategy. But now they were seeing the truth for the first time. The humans were precise, cold, and frighteningly efficient in battle. Every shot was carefully placed, every weapon activated at the exact right moment, and every attack felt like a message carved in fire. The aliens finally understood why reports from other front lines described humans as the most unpredictable fighters in the galaxy. Once they were pushed into war, they became something unstoppable, something even experienced alien warriors feared. Outside, the dreadnought fired again, this time targeting the heavy artillery towers on the western side of the outpost. The towers didn't even get a chance to respond. They exploded instantly, flames rising high into the air, lighting up the dark sky with a terrifying glow. Alien soldiers who had been stationed near the towers ran for cover, their voices filled with panic. The humans didn't stop firing. They launched 3 more blasts, each aimed perfectly to cripple the outpost's ability to counterattack. With every explosion, the ground vibrated harder. Cracks spread through the walls, and panic grew like a shadow swallowing the entire base. One alien officer desperately tried to send a message to the central fleet, but the communication console sparked and died before he could finish typing. The humans had destroyed the communication relay with one of their first shots, leaving the outpost completely cut off, isolated, defenseless. The commander slammed his fist against the console in frustration. He knew the humans had planned this. They had mapped the outpost, studied its weaknesses, and struck with a level of intelligence the aliens had never expected. This wasn't random destruction. It was calculated punishment. The dreadnought released a volley of rail cannon projectiles next, glowing streaks that cut through the air at incredible speed. Each one hit a key structure: fuel storage tanks, supply depots, and transport docks. The explosions that followed were massive, shaking the outpost so violently that some soldiers lost their balance and fell. The fire spread quickly, turning entire sections of the base into burning fields of smoke and destruction. The aliens watched helplessly as everything they had built was reduced to ashes within minutes. No ship could escape now. No supplies could be moved. The outpost was completely trapped in humanity's firestorm. One young alien soldier began crying, asking why the humans were being so merciless. An older soldier put a hand on his shoulder and whispered the truth they had all been avoiding. This wasn't an unprovoked attack. This was revenge. Months earlier, their own forces had taken part in the invasion of Earth, destroying cities, killing civilians, believing humans would break quickly. But instead, humans had risen from the ruins and struck back with a fury that no one had predicted. Now the aliens were paying the price for their mistake. The dreadnought fired again, this time with even more destructive force. The blast hit the central power core of the outpost, causing a massive surge that shut down lights, shields, and every remaining system. Darkness swallowed the outpost except for the fires burning outside. The aliens stared at each other, their faces full of dread. They were beginning to understand that the humans didn't want negotiation. They didn't want surrender. They wanted to end the threat permanently. Every attack was a reminder that humanity had suffered, and now they were making sure their enemies suffered too. The commander grabbed the edge of a broken console, his eyes fixed on the glowing silhouette of the dreadnought outside. He knew this was only the beginning. The humans had announced their presence with fire, and they were far from finished. The next wave of destruction was coming, and nothing could stop it. The outpost braced for impact, knowing the humans were fighting with purpose, power, and a deep, burning resolve that made them more terrifying than any enemy the aliens had faced before. The aliens had always believed one thing about humans, that they were weak, emotional, and unable to handle pressure. This belief had spread across the galaxy for years, repeated by generals, diplomats, and scouts. It became a comfortable lie that made every species feel safe. As long as humans stayed on their small blue planet, they were considered harmless. But now, as the dreadnought blasted the outpost with terrifying precision, the aliens finally realized how wrong those old stories had been. The truth was hitting them harder than any weapon. Humans were not weak. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors who turned suffering into strength. The alien commander stood motionless, staring at the screens showing the dreadnought's movements. The humans were not rushing. They were not panicking. Their every action was calm and controlled. Just like a species that had mastered war through experience, one soldier whispered that humans were supposed to be emotional, easy to manipulate, but there was no sign of emotion in the human attack, no hesitation, no mercy, only pure, calculated destruction. It was as if every shot carried the weight of 1,000 silent promises. Promises that anyone who harmed Earth would face consequences beyond imagination. Reports from the front lines had always been confusing. Some said humans fought like animals. Some said they fought like machines. Others said they fought with their hearts, driven by bonds and emotions. But seeing the dreadnought in action made everything clear. Humans fought with all three combined. Their intelligence allowed them to outthink enemies. Their emotion allowed them to push through fear. And their instincts allowed them to strike with deadly speed. It was a terrifying combination, one that no other species had, and no one in the galaxy knew how to counter it. The alien technicians watched in horror as more human weapons activated on the dreadnought's hull. Rows of missile ports opened like the jaws of a metallic creature. Each missile was marked with tracking signals, meaning they could follow targets even through thick defenses. Then the scanners detected something even worse. Rail cannons charging again with a deeper, more powerful hum. The commander clenched his jaw. Realizing the humans were preparing to demolish the remaining structures of the outpost with overwhelming force, it was not a battle. It was an execution. In one corner of the damaged room, an older alien officer spoke to a group of frightened younger soldiers. He told them stories he had heard from survivors on other planets. He explained how humans rebuilt their fallen cities with incredible speed, how they used their pain as fuel to fight back harder. how they never forgot the lives that were lost, and how they never forgave those who caused the suffering. He said humans didn't start wars, but when forced into one, they refused to back down. They refused to kneel. They refused to let fear control them. The young soldiers listened with growing fear, because now they understood that everything he said was happening right outside their walls. Another massive blast shook the outpost, destroying the eastern weapon bay. Fires erupted everywhere, painting the sky orange and red. The dreadnought continued firing with flawless accuracy, hitting weak points that even the aliens themselves didn't fully know existed. This proved something terrifying. The humans had studied them, learned everything about their structures, their tactics, their vulnerabilities. It was clear that this attack had been planned carefully, carried out with intelligence that no one expected humans to possess. The old belief that humans were technologically behind was now shattered, replaced by the truth that humans adapted faster than any species alive. The commander finally spoke, his voice heavy with regret. He admitted aloud that they had underestimated humanity from the beginning. They had mistaken kindness for weakness. They had mistaken peace for fear. They had mistaken humanity's desire to avoid war as a sign of fragility. But humans were not fragile. They were resilient, deeply resilient, the type of species that would rather die fighting than live under threat. The soldiers listened quietly, feeling the weight of his words. He told them that when they attacked Earth, they awakened something powerful, something unstoppable. And now that force was standing right above them in the form of a dreadnought. Outside, the dreadnought slowly rotated, preparing for another round of strikes. The glowing engines cast long shadows across the broken outpost, making everything look small and helpless beneath it. The aliens felt that shadow fall over them like a cold blanket, reminding them of their mistake. They had underestimated a species that had faced extinction many times in their history, fought countless natural disasters, survived harsh climates, endured endless conflict, and risen stronger each time. Humanity was built for struggle, built to adapt, built to overcome. The aliens realized that the greatest myth in the galaxy was the one they believed most, the myth that humans were the weakest species. But now, with their outpost burning and the dreadnought hovering above them like a judgment, they finally saw the truth, glowing bright in the fire and destruction. Humans were not the weakest. They were the most dangerous species anyone had ever faced. And by attacking Earth, the aliens had awakened a force that would not stop until justice was delivered. The dreadnought was not just a ship, it was humanity's warning, and the galaxy would never forget it. The dreadnought hovered in the sky like a silent monster as the next phase of the human attack began. A deep metallic roar spread through the air, and every alien in the outpost felt the vibrations in their bones. From the underside of the dreadnought, several massive doors slowly opened, glowing with red warning lights. Inside those doors, rows of dropships waited like arrows in a giant bow, each one filled with heavily armed human soldiers ready to strike. For a moment, the aliens hoped the humans would stay in their ship, but that hope disappeared. The second the dropships launched, shooting downward like burning stars tearing through the clouds. The sky lit up with streaks of bright white and blue as the dropships descended with incredible speed, their engines leaving long trails of smoke behind them. The aliens had never seen transports move this fast. Each dropship stabilized itself with powerful gravity thrusters that shook the land as they landed. Dust and dirt shot into the air, covering everything in a thick cloud. And before the aliens could even prepare, the doors of the dropships opened with a loud mechanical hiss. One by one, human soldiers stepped out wearing intimidating exosuits, their armor dark, smooth, and covered in glowing lines of energy that pulsed like living veins. The human Marines walked forward slowly, not rushing, not shouting, completely calm. Their helmets reflected the fires burning in the distance, making them look even more terrifying. Their footsteps were heavy and perfectly synchronized, each movement showing discipline and silent confidence. The aliens watching from behind broken walls whispered in fear. They had expected wild, emotional humans, but what they saw instead were soldiers trained like machines, moving in perfect formation. Every Marine carried a gravity-stabilized rifle, a weapon so advanced that even one shot could tear through armor plates. The aliens had never seen anything like it. The first squad of Marines scanned the area with glowing visors, mapping every enemy position within seconds. Their rifles hummed softly as they powered up. Then, without hesitation, the humans moved in, taking cover behind fallen structures, sliding across the ground with smooth motion. They communicated with hand signals, barely speaking a single word. Their discipline made them look like shadows designed for war, and it terrified the aliens more than the dreadnought's firepower. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were elite units trained to handle the most dangerous battlefields in the galaxy. The aliens tried to fight back, firing plasma shots toward the humans, but the Marines reacted instantly. Their exosuits boosted their speed, allowing them to dodge, roll, and reposition with ease. Some activated personal shields that absorbed blasts without slowing them down. Others used wrist-mounted drones that flew out rapidly, scanning the battlefield and projecting holographic warnings for incoming attacks. The aliens fired again and again, but each shot seemed to miss, as if the humans were always one step ahead. The panic spread quickly, because it felt like the humans already knew every move the aliens were going to make. Meanwhile, more dropships landed around the outpost, creating a tightening circle that closed in from all sides. Human squads advanced with flawless teamwork, covering each other, protecting wounded soldiers, using the environment creatively. Their strategy showed a level of intelligence and training that made the aliens feel completely outmatched. For every alien position that fired at them, the humans responded with speed and precision. A burst of rifle fire here, a well-thrown grenade there, and within seconds the enemy line collapsed. The Marines didn't waste ammunition. Every shot counted. Every movement mattered. One alien soldier, trembling behind a fallen beam, watched as a squad of Marines moved past him. He saw how one human tapped the ground with a small device, causing a blue grid to spread across the area, revealing hidden mines and traps the aliens had placed earlier. The aliens had believed those traps would slow humans down, but the Marines disarmed them in seconds without even breaking formation. The soldier realized then that humans were not just strong. They were smart, adaptable, and frighteningly fast at learning their environment. The commander tried to rally the alien troops, shouting for them to hold their positions, but it was too late. The humans had already broken through the western defenses and were sweeping across the outpost, their voices calm as they communicated through radio channels, giving orders with quiet confidence. Every Marine knew exactly what to do. Some climbed buildings using exosuit spikes. Others used jet boosters for quick aerial maneuvers. The aliens fired desperately, but their shots became wild and unfocused as fear took over. The humans continued advancing like a tide of unstoppable force. Several aliens dropped their weapons and ran, hoping to reach the forest. But the Marines activated tracking drones that flew out like metallic birds, catching every escaping soldier with stunning beams that dropped them instantly. The humans captured enemies without cruelty, but with firm, unbreakable control. It was clear from their discipline that the mission wasn't about chaos or anger. It was about ending the threat with absolute efficiency. The aliens felt it deeply. They were no longer fighting soldiers. They were fighting a species that had transformed pain into mastery. As fires burned and smoke thickened around the outpost, the humans regrouped near the central courtyard, their armor still glowing, their rifles still humming softly. They stood calmly, ready for the next phase. The alien survivors watching them felt a sinking truth settle in their hearts. Humanity had not come to negotiate or scare them. Humanity had come to finish what the war had started. And the Marines on the ground showed exactly why every species in the galaxy feared Terran soldiers more than any other warriors. Because once humans decided to fight, they fought with everything they had, until the battle was completely, undeniably won. The alien commander stumbled backward, eyes wide as he watched the humans move across the outpost with terrifying precision. Every plan he had made seemed useless. Every defensive line he thought would hold was already shattered. The humans weren't just strong. They were clever, disciplined, and unrelenting. He had heard stories from other officers about how Terrans fought, how they adapted and survived against impossible odds. But nothing in the reports could have prepared him for this level of skill. Every step the humans took on the ground, every shot from their rifles, Every coordinated movement from their squads proved that the legends were true, and that the humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. In the control room, alarms blared constantly as the remaining alien soldiers tried to respond. Their plasma weapons fired desperately, but the humans anticipated every attack, dodging, sliding, and using their environment with a mastery that made the aliens feel helpless. The exosuits enhanced every marine's speed and strength, allowing them to leap over debris, sprint across open ground, and take cover with ease. Even the aliens stationed on elevated platforms could not target them effectively, and every failed shot only added to the terror. The aliens realized that they were no match for Terran technology combined with Terran tactics. Their confidence began to crumble as the humans advanced steadily, calmly, without hesitation. The commander tried to issue orders, but his voice trembled. The younger soldiers looked to him for guidance, but they could see the fear in his eyes. They had been taught to trust their leaders, to believe that strategy and numbers could win battles. But all of that seemed meaningless now. The humans were rewriting the rules of combat before their eyes. As one squad moved through the western corridor, another Marine team appeared from the eastern hatch, perfectly synchronized, cutting off the aliens' escape routes. The aliens had nowhere to go. The humans controlled the battlefield completely, and every alien realized that resistance was becoming impossible. Outside the damaged walls of the outpost, the dreadnought hovered like a silent judge, its weapons still active, scanning the perimeter. The humans on the ground moved in coordination with the ship, sending signals back and forth. Every movement was calculated. Every action reinforced the others. The aliens could barely comprehend the level of communication and efficiency the humans had achieved, while the aliens shouted orders in panic. The humans communicated with minimal words, relying on signals, maps, and instinct honed through relentless training. It was as if every human soldier knew exactly what the others would do before it happened. And the alien commander realized that this was not luck. This was intentional, precise, and terrifyingly effective. In one sector, a small group of aliens attempted a last-ditch counterattack, firing plasma cannons from the upper towers, but the humans were already ready. A squad of Marines activated their personal shields, advanced in perfect formation, and neutralized the cannons within seconds. Some aliens were captured, some were knocked unconscious, and the rest fled in confusion. The humans barely broke their stride, moving through corridors and open spaces like shadows of death. The aliens had no idea how to stop them. It became clear that humanity did not fight like other species. They adapted instantly, found weaknesses, and destroyed them systematically, leaving nothing to chance. The alien commander finally understood why reports across the galaxy had described humans as unpredictable and dangerous. He had dismissed those accounts, thinking his intelligence and experience could outmatch them. But now he realized that human intelligence in war was more than clever strategies or powerful weapons. It was the combination of planning, adaptability, and relentless execution. Every time the aliens tried to regroup, the humans adjusted, closing off escape routes, capturing key points, and forcing them further into desperation. The commander's confidence dissolved completely. He had no options left, he had no allies arriving, and the humans had already won the tactical advantage. In the central courtyard, the humans paused for a brief moment, scanning the area with glowing visors, their exosuits flickering with energy. It was a calm before the storm. And yet, that calm made the aliens feel even more fear. They had faced attacks before, but never like this. The humans weren't raging blindly. They were precise, disciplined, and in complete control. The commander realized that every strike, every movement, and every decision made by the humans was intentional. A demonstration of power that left no room for escape or negotiation. This was the moment the aliens knew they had underestimated Earth's defenders for the last time. A young alien soldier whispered in disbelief that humans were unstoppable. An older one nodded silently, understanding what the commander had known for minutes but hadn't yet admitted aloud. Humans had risen from their own destruction, built strength from hardship. And now, standing before them in full force, they were showing the galaxy what happens when a species is pushed too far. The dreadnought above, the Marines below. Every weapon activated and every step measured. Humanity was not just fighting. They were delivering a lesson, a clear and unbroken demonstration that attacking Earth had consequences no enemy could escape, and the aliens could only watch as the humans advanced relentlessly, proving that the stories were true and far worse than anyone had imagined. The remaining alien defenders scrambled desperately, realizing that every escape route had been cut off. The humans had surrounded the outpost like a tightening noose. Their movements coordinated perfectly between the dreadnought above and the Marines below. Every strategy the aliens had left was falling apart. They fired plasma cannons, energy rifles, and everything they could find. But the humans reacted instantly, dodging, countering, and neutralizing each threat with frightening efficiency. It felt as if the aliens were fighting shadows, shadows that knew their every move before they made it, and every failed attack added to the chaos and fear spreading among the defenders. The dreadnought remained a looming presence above the battlefield, scanning, calculating, and firing intermittently to support the ground troops. Its weapons struck precise targets that crippled the remaining alien defenses. The aliens could only watch as walls, towers, and energy grids collapsed under controlled, deliberate fire. Some soldiers fell to the ground in panic, unable to comprehend the speed and accuracy of the human attacks. Their commander shouted orders, but there was no response. Everyone was frozen with fear. The humans were unstoppable, moving through the battlefield like a tide of metal and fire, breaking every line, dismantling every attempt at resistance. In one sector, a squad of aliens tried to make a last stand, gathering in a narrow corridor to concentrate their fire. They hoped that by holding this position, they could slow the humans down, maybe even survive long enough for reinforcements to arrive. But it was already too late. The humans had mapped the outpost, studied the aliens' tactics, and prepared for every possible counterattack. The Marines moved with precision, splitting into teams, taking cover behind fallen walls, and flanking the aliens with effortless coordination. Within minutes, the defenders were surrounded, their plasma blasts deflected or absorbed by human shields. Their attempts to flee were intercepted by tracking drones and rapid response squads, and panic turned into utter despair. The commander watched helplessly as his remaining forces were neutralized one by one. He realized that they were not facing ordinary soldiers, but a species that combined strategy, strength, and intelligence at a level no one had predicted. Humans did not just attack. They analyzed, adapted, and executed simultaneously. Every move was part of a larger plan. Every weapon fired contributed to a complete, unstoppable assault. The aliens began to understand why Earth had survived countless wars and disasters. Their species had endured and evolved through hardship, and now that resilience was manifesting in full force against anyone who threatened them. Explosions shook the ground as the Marines continued advancing, using the terrain creatively to avoid fire and eliminate cover. Alien defenses fell like dominoes. Fuel tanks and weapon depots exploded one after another, lighting up the battlefield with fire and smoke. The surviving defenders tried to regroup in the central plaza, but the humans had already anticipated this. Squads moved in from multiple directions, cutting off retreat and disabling energy nodes that powered the alien shields. Each coordinated strike showed terrifying intelligence, making the defenders realize that humanity's plan was more than simple revenge. It was a complete dismantling of the threat. Every action demonstrating that Earth's people had learned from their enemies' attacks and had prepared for precisely this moment. One young alien soldier whispered to a comrade that humans were monsters. But the older soldier shook his head, understanding that they were not monsters. They were humans. Disciplined, intelligent, and relentless, built from a species that refused to be conquered. Every time a human Marine moved, it was part of a sequence designed to break the defenders completely. The aliens tried to fight, but the humans predicted their every move, closing in from every angle, capturing, incapacitating, or eliminating anyone who resisted. The battlefield became a living demonstration of human efficiency, strategy, and tactical superiority, leaving no room for doubt or hope. The dreadnought fired again, hitting critical power nodes in the remaining structures. Black smoke rose, covering the outpost in a cloud of despair. The humans on the ground moved methodically, clearing areas, securing positions, and making sure that nothing could regroup or escape. The aliens could only watch as their last defenses were dismantled, realizing that the humans' arrival had ended any chance of survival. The attack was swift, calculated, and unstoppable, showing them exactly why humanity had been underestimated for so long, and why the galaxy would never forget what happened when Earth decided to fight back. Finally, the remaining alien commander slumped against a shattered console, knowing that the battle was lost. His troops either captured or destroyed, the humans had proven beyond any doubt that attacking Earth or threatening its people carried consequences no other species could endure. The dreadnought began to move away slowly, leaving a scene of devastation behind. The Marines regrouped, calm and efficient, ready to return to the ship at a moment's notice. The outpost lay in ruins, a complete and undeniable display of humanity's power, intelligence, and relentless determination. And every alien who survived would carry the memory of this defeat forever. The alien outpost lay in ruins, smoke rising from every corner, twisted metal and shattered walls scattered across the landscape. The surviving alien soldiers huddled together, trembling, their weapons useless, and their morale shattered. The humans had completed their mission with terrifying efficiency. Every corner had been secured, every threat neutralized, and the aliens finally understood that the humans had not just come to fight. They had come to send a message that could not be ignored. The humans would not be underestimated again, and any attack on their homeworld would meet the same relentless response. The dreadnought hovered silently above the battlefield, its engines glowing softly, a reminder of the power that had crushed the defenders below. It had delivered destruction with surgical precision, eliminating the outpost's weapons, power nodes, and command structures, yet it did not linger longer than necessary. Moving as though the purpose of its presence had been fulfilled, the Marines on the ground regrouped calmly, checking their systems, reloading weapons, and scanning for any remaining threats. There was no celebration, no shouting, no unnecessary movements, just controlled, quiet efficiency that contrasted sharply with the chaos they had just created. The alien commander, slumped against a ruined console, watched as the humans finished securing the outpost. He had survived, but only barely. His troops were gone, either captured, incapacitated, or killed, and he realized the scale of his mistake in attacking Earth. Humanity had been underestimated. Their strength, intelligence, and determination had been misjudged. And now the galaxy knew the truth. The humans were not weak, not unorganized, and not emotional in a way that could be exploited. They were survivors, warriors, and strategists combined. And the outpost's destruction was a testament to their capabilities, a lesson written in fire and steel. The Marines moved toward the center of the outpost, their steps deliberate, each movement reinforcing the control they had established, scanning for survivors, marking hazards, and ensuring that no area had been overlooked. The dreadnought's sensors provided support from above, analyzing structures, detecting hidden threats, and transmitting instructions to the squads below. The humans' coordination was flawless, almost eerie in its precision. The aliens could only watch in silence, knowing that every action they had taken to defend themselves had been anticipated, countered, and neutralized. The sheer mastery of the human assault left no room for argument, discussion, or negotiation. A single broadcast crackled across the ruined communication arrays, the human voice calm and firm, yet carrying the weight of authority. It addressed the sector, warning any who might consider attacking Earth or its colonies. The message was clear. Humanity did not seek war, but if threatened again, the response would be swift, calculated, and devastating. The alien survivors understood instantly that this broadcast was not a threat. It was a guarantee. The humans had proven that they could strike with precision anywhere in the galaxy. And the memory of this battle would remain with the aliens forever, teaching them that attacking Earth had consequences no species could ignore. Outside the outpost, the human Marines began to gather near their dropships, checking each other and their equipment. The mission had been successful without unnecessary losses. The dreadnought above powered up its engines, preparing to leave the planet behind, its massive form casting a shadow over the destruction it had caused. The aliens could see the humans leaving calmly, almost peacefully, yet the fear that burned in their hearts was far from over. They understood that what had just happened was not anger or revenge in the ordinary sense. It was a demonstration of humanity's resolve, intelligence, and ability to adapt and dominate when threatened. The alien commander struggled to his feet, surveying the devastation. He realized that no reinforcements would come in time. No counterattack could match what he had just witnessed. Humanity's arrival had ended the battle decisively, leaving a lasting impression on every surviving alien. He remembered the stories his ancestors had told, the warnings from other planets, the whispers about the humans' strength and unpredictability. And now he knew that every tale had underestimated the truth. The humans were more than survivors. They were a force that combined courage, ingenuity, and ruthless efficiency. And that combination made them unstoppable. As the dreadnought disappeared into the stars, and the last of the Marines boarded the dropships, the aliens were left to contemplate the lesson they had just learned. Every structure of the outpost destroyed, every weapon neutralized, every plan rendered useless, the humans had shown that their power was not limited to brute force. It extended to intelligence, strategy, and adaptability. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long, and the destruction of the outpost ensured that anyone who attacked Earth again would remember the cost. Humanity had arrived, opened fire, and left no doubt about their strength and determination. In the silence that followed, the aliens realized that the battle was over. But the message remained clear and unshakable. Humanity would not be conquered. They would not be intimidated, and any threat to their home would meet the same overwhelming, calculated response. The survivors would carry this lesson across the galaxy, telling every fleet, every commander, and every species about the humans who had arrived, fired with precision, and left a mark that could never be erased. The outpost lay in ruins, the humans gone, but their presence, their power, and their message echoed endlessly, ensuring that the galaxy would never forget the true strength of humanity.